is good! Ferris State wins the basketball game!
You got it! Game winner!
Rips the shot and it's a score for Ferris State! What a play right there by the Bulldogs!
And so those are the kind of the guys I really wanted to model my mentality after.
When it's bad weather, it kind of comes down to grit. I think our team has a lot of that.
It's like you lose a game, like it hurts so much.
Like we're very culture-based, and so that's what initially got me here.
You're listening to Behind the Bulldogs, brought to you by Ferris State Athletics.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Behind the Bulldogs. We're in review mode now, Joe. It has been a great year. We'll touch a little bit here on the winter and the spring sports. Unfortunately, we don't have an interview for you guys, but
that is a little unfortunate.
It's all by design. We, of course, have a review episode here as it's the end of the semester, Joe.
Yeah, it's the end of the season, so there's a lot to talk about, and I know you're probably thinking, like, wish there was an interview. Well, guess what? You're going to have to suck it up because there isn't one. There's going to be good talking about some good sports, though, so we'll get right into it. What do you want to start with, Brandon?
We can start with the winter here. Obviously, we'll touch on that and get into spring as some teams are still competing this weekend and even into the future, which we'll get into that with tennis, golf, track, and softball.
Yes.
But we'll start, of course, with basketball. I mean, of course, the obvious one. Elite Eight for men's finish, Final Four for the women's. I mean, it was a great season. And unfortunately, we're losing a lot of the leadership for both of those teams. But I think with the young core, obviously Coach Westendorp's team losing Mallory, Amaka as well as losing Chloe. Those are three key pieces. But I think with that young core behind, a lot of great recruits coming in. I think this year's team just showed how defensively they've improved immensely. Offensively, we saw the same firepower from last year. And I really think with this team moving forward, I mean, you're looking on the ups for a lot of these young core freshmen, sophomores to take a step up. Elle Irwin being one. Caden Blanchard will be in her senior season as well. You're going to see Maya Hiram and Kenzie Bowers returning, key pieces in the rotation. And I think just to name a few, I mean, Deshauna Day, we can go down the entire list. But I think the young core has a lot of upside. And I don't think we're going to see, I mean, there's been like these rumblings, Joe. I don't know if you've heard about it, but like they're talking like we're going to be taking a step down next year. I just don't know if I quite see it.
Yeah, I don't see that either. Mainly because just Coach Westendorp has just been able to, reload with every time that he's had. It's just been consistently getting better each year that he's taken over the helm of the basketball team. And to see him already make to the Final Four, will we make it there again? I don't know. We could, but I think the notion that we're going to be, a heavy step down and it's going to be a few rungs on the ladder that we're going to be lower than, I just don't see it. And I think we're going to be able to really just pull it back. And the pieces that we are getting back, like you said, with Kenzie Bowers, with Caden Blanchard, I think those two are going to be incredible leaders to help lead some of the players who are more just the bench roles, as well as the ones that are going to be coming in for this next year. I'm loving what we're seeing. It's obviously going to be quite a while until we're going to be able to tell how the season's going to go, but I don't think we're going to drop below 20 wins next year.
Yeah, I think you can expect some great things. And obviously this year, taking care of the basketball was really, I think, something that stood out. I mean, 1.2 assists per turnover ratio. That is a very good margin. Mallory McCartney, of course, was one of the tops in the nation at 2.6. I thought you saw a lot of the distribution was fantastic. Them and men's as well, which we'll get to here in just a minute. Shooting-wise, I know this team wants to get better at the three-point shot, and Coach Carlson has been working with them. So we look to see a jump there next year. And just the grittiness. I mean, defensively, this team has proved. I mean, you can see it statistically. Opponent shoot percentage has been very good. You've seen the blocks kind of rise up, the steals kind of rise up. So we look forward to this team going into next season, as well as the men's, of course, finishing in the Elite Eight. I think especially when you looked at their run, I mean, there was a lot of firepower coming into this year's team. There was a couple bumps and bruises here and there, but this team kept battling, and I mean, really making it through that region there at Indy was a real testament to that team's grit, having to play a lot of these teams that they had, fell to in the regular season, Northern Michigan and Lake Superior State, and they rose up to the challenge with a lot of the guys that came in, gelled year one. You got Jack Ammerman, of course, Deshaun Munson being those guys. You got a couple of transfers, of course, that have really immensely made our program an improvement over the last couple of years. Delapo Leyinka, just to mention one as well. As you got Veas Grzoulis, who joined us after a well-fought journey in the game of basketball. But I think especially when you look at this team, I mean, they definitely proved of what we hoped to see, and that was a good tournament run this year. And it was just really good to see them play such good basketball there in the month of March, and it was a really fun team to follow, and they made every game just a lights-out, enjoyable experience.
Yeah, and then you're looking at this upcoming year and who's going to be able to step up. I mean, you see guys, I think Ethan Erickson's going to be the one guy who a lot of people have their eyes on for this upcoming season. And I mean, why not? Because he's been able to just shoot the lights out a lot of times, and especially with another year coming up, another offseason, that just means that much more improvement. And I'm really looking forward to see how he kind of develops into more of that leadership role, because you have a lot of guys leaving, Amari Lee, Ben Davidson, and guys like Jack Harriman too. I mean, you alluded to that already, but I think especially with the way that this team was structured this year, I think you're going to see the same thing. Coach Bronkman knows how to win. He knows how to get guys in that can win, and you're going to see a lot of the fellas on the team. They're going to be able to step up and fill those roles that are needed, because there are shooters all throughout the team. I mean, we've been able to see that where we get those streaks where, there's 10 shots up by guys from beyond the arc, and we make all those. 3-point shooting has been a strength of this team. So kind of reloading and making sure that you can get back to it is something I'm not really worried about, because Coach Bronkman has already shown that that's just something that you can just expect from a Bulldog basketball squad.
Yeah, playing at Wink is certainly to this team's strength. I mean, I looked it up here, 88 points per game we averaged in Jim Wink Arena this year. That's phenomenal. So next season, get your season tickets as soon as they come out, because it is a fun team to watch in that building. But I think especially the assists per game, I mean, we are nearing 20 a game. The unselfishness of that team was very apparent last year. The consistency defensively, I think, is where this team really wants to make an improvement going into 24-25 campaign, and we look forward to it. Obviously, we're still going to have some guys back. Jimmy Scholler, Ethan Erickson, certainly to name a few. Dang Rang, we hope to see back as well, as a lot of these other really good players that have been in the rotation and have really found some minutes, especially over the last couple of years, really kind of finding their role. Like Owen Hardy really has taken a little bit of a step forward this year. Jordan Brooks will probably see more from next year. And then obviously the portal will still probably have some new guys come in that we'll be talking about.
Yeah, Bronkman can hit the portal real hard and find the guys that can really assimilate to the culture. I mean, you saw it with Delapo, you saw it with Jack, you saw it with Deshaun Munson. So I'm really not too worried about seeing how these guys kind of gel for this next year, as well as who gets brought in. But I can tell you what, it's going to be reloaded, it's going to be ready, and we're going to be very, very excited for game one when it comes in next semester.
Absolutely. Moving over to the rink that is no longer an ice rink here for graduation.
Got taken out.
Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit of a warmer setting for this weekend's congratulation commencement, which if you are graduating and you're a fan, congratulations.
Good job for you.
Good job. So, but hockey, of course, a little bit of a struggled campaign this past year. Obviously, we had a lot of good upside, a lot of good wins along the way. I mean, winning at Northern Michigan, winning against Western Michigan early on the season, those certainly highlights. Winning at the MAC in overtime, one of the most fun games of the year. But I think especially this team they got on us on a really nice win streak there, especially at the end of January, where we had a sweep against Lake Superior State. Then we went to Augustana and ruined their opening weekend there at Midco with a sweep there. Stepan Picorni's performance still will go down in the record books.
Insane.
But really from then on, it was a struggle fest. I mean, this team unfortunately was not on the winning end of any contest since the end of really the month of January going into February. And I think that really just kind of stuck with the team. And it's been a little down in the dumps. We've had some guys that are on to new adventures, whether it's on the ice or graduating. So it'll be a little bit of a different team next year. We'll still have a couple of the young core guys, but we'll be really looking forward to seeing especially what this roster is going to be looking like coming up next year, because Coach Daniels, Coach Famulak, Coach Kaufman, they're going to have a lot of holes to fill this offseason. So we hope to see a rejuvenated team going in this year, one with their heads held high, and seeing that success moving up here that we saw earlier on in the season, and hopefully putting it over an entire campaign coming up here into 24-25.
Yeah, it ain't going to be easy, but nobody said anything worth doing is easy, so it's going to be tough. I mean, especially with a young group that's coming in, a young group of guys who are going to be veterans now on the team. It's going to have to really just take up a spot for them to just push it and make sure that they can, just make the most of it, because it's going to be a pretty tough CCHA. We saw some teams who throughout the way, I mean, Bemidji State was a team who might lose a good amount, but still they're able to bring in a lot of people through the transfer portal. We've seen Augustana already kind of make a little bit of noise. St. Thomas, a young program in the D1 space, but they're also going to be very good. I mean, they were near the top of the CCHA standing. So it's going to be a tough conference to succeed in next year, but it's just going to be up to the fellows if they're willing to put that work in. And even though they're going to be young, I mean, if they can string a few good performances together, who knows what can happen.
Yeah, you see consistency on special teams when it comes to power play, penalty kill, and you see a little bit more of I wouldn't necessarily more of a physical team, because the team this year was very physical, but I think establishing open ice and I think establishing tempo in these games, I think will be huge, because I think there's a lot of times where the momentum was shifted back and forth so much throughout the game that it was mentally and physically taxing against the guys. And I think that's something that if we can see a little bit more stability there as far as controlling the game to their own pace, I think you're going to see a much better team moving in next year. Now we move into spring here. We'll recap the sports that we got here that have officially ended, which if you're paying attention is none of them. So we still got some great action up on deck, but we'll recap to the season to this point and what's coming ahead. We can start in track and field, of course, with indoor track moving into outdoor track, that transition naturally moving forward. But indoor was good. I think you saw a lot of great performances across the board from this year's group. The sprints group definitely took a step forward. You saw some guys like Chase Carter, Bryson Front to really step out. Those guys did really well. You saw the relays certainly taking a step forward, and especially for a lot of the new pieces that coming into this group with Coach Jackson on that end. I think you saw some big improvements. I mean, the throws, they did really well, especially with their experienced group. Distance, mid-distance, of course, fighting through some injuries and obviously some people in and out of the rotation as far as going into GLIACs, but fighting hard, especially this team really did. You saw some guys in the sophomore, junior year that were scoring very high up in the 5,000, the 3,000, into the 1,500, and I think that's certainly a testament to where this team is going into outdoor, which we have actually championships right now going on, so it'll be finished up probably as you are hearing this episode, but I think especially we have some really good performances going into outdoor, and it's been a weather-plagued season. There's no doubt about it. Outdoor, you're going to be looking at times online, you're like, man, this year's group really isn't doing as well, and that's not true. It's really Mother Nature that is holding back a lot of the times, and the biggest thing is it's been an uphill grind, and this is on all facets with the winter having to deal with the rain and the wind. You've started to see now, especially the last 3 weeks as a parent, the sprints group, jumps group, throws group, mid-distance, distance, everybody is peaking at the right time, and you might not see it on the points tally. You're seeing a lot of PRs. You're seeing a lot of season bests, especially here overall. I mean, we've got scores already through day one, and obviously now all the finals will be here in day two, so you'll see points starting to get racked up left and right. But I think especially, I mean, looking at GLIACs right now, I mean, you got Chase Carter, who's looking to be a front runner in the 100-200 combo. The 4x1 is going to make major noise this afternoon. I can put money on it. You got obviously a lot of really good stuff from the throws. Devin Dennison has really had a fantastic season so far. Kyle Drouillard is a senior, really out on top. Rebecca Marvin on the women's side as well. Claudia Wilkinson going in the high jump later this afternoon. And you got a lot of finalists as well that are going to be making some noise, especially you got the 10Ks that are moved to this morning. So Hannah Brock and Cooper Sorson are going to be racing this morning. They're in good positions to score on both sides of the 10K. You got the 5Ks as well this afternoon that are going to be competing. And I think it's going to be really fun to see a lot of the finalists in the 1500 and the 400. And it's just going to be a really fun little finish to the season here.
Yeah, congrats to you as well, Brandon.
Oh, yeah. Steepled this last night, and it was very successful, and I was very pleased being able to be fourth in the GLIAC.
Yeah,
and
big dog.
Scoring for the team, that really means a lot.
Big dog.
Especially for what could be the finale. Might be one more week, might not, but we're still thinking about that right now.
One of the best steeple conferences that you're telling me, one of the best steeple conferences getting fourth. Man, that's pretty darn solid.
Yeah, it's been a great career, and I
should be happy about that.
I really wouldn't change it for the world, and I think especially being with the group, group and being with this group of guys and gals, I think has really meant a lot. And being a part of this program and being able to now next year in a whole new facet, I think it's really been a memorable experience. And I look forward to continuing it with the group next year. So
yeah,
it almost chokes me up just thinking about it, but we're going to keep it rolling here.
I also just gave Brandon a high five. So if you saw a little spike in the sound, that's what it was. But yes. Be proud of yourself, Brandon. You put in a lot of work, especially seeing that you were battling injuries for a good amount of your career. That's big time, dog.
Yeah, it's
proud of you, man.
It's really been.
Give me one more high five.
All right, fine. One more time. There we go. There it is. So
big time.
All right, let's move ahead here.
Next thing on the agenda,
we got softball.
Yes, we do.
Is in the midst of GLIAC tournament competition right now.
Big dog.
Got the win against Wayne State in the opener. Now we'll face Grand Valley State, a revenge here. 2-2 entering this series on the season. And as the number 4 seed, obviously not going to be looked at as a title contender, but we saw what Parkside did last year, and we're going to try to do the same thing as a Cinderella team, even though I don't see us as a Cinderella team. But I think when you look at this year, Joe, especially, the offense has been definitely stepping up in big moments and putting together some big innings, and obviously none more than Wayne State. We saw an 8-run third inning. But I think especially looking back, I mean, this team really started to find their groove once they got through those early February indoor tournaments, and once they got through Florida and came back, you started to see a lot of that more consistency and identity. And going into April really is where this team really took off, and they were doing really well on the mound. You saw Aaron Gallagher, Ashley Webb really throwing some gems, and the offense is really, I mean, Alexis Kozlowski has been fantastic this year. One of the best in the GLIAC as a freshman, and especially with
freshman of the year now.
Yeah, freshman of the year. And we got freshmen and sophomores in this group, and they're competing against these junior, senior heavy teams, and they're really holding their own. And that's a big sign of good things to come for Coach Schumann here over the next couple of years.
Yeah, and the best part about it is you've seen the scores and stuff, and when we can't get the bats going, we're a gritty team. We'll battle it out. We'll do it on the defensive side. We'll play small ball. We'll get it done. And that's the best part about it is when you get this late in the season where, you know, some of those teams who heavily rely on their offense to take them through a game, they might get in a slump, and they're going to fall to those teams that, you know, play the small ball or do the little things correctly. And this team has done that so far. And especially with 5 players with all conference recognition, I think you've seen a very, very solid step up in play from last year. And to see them just do so well, I mean, they're 25-25 right now, which is still a very respectable record. And for them to go up against Grand Valley today, I'm excited to see how they play. And I mean, they're going to have the elimination game tomorrow if they lose. But I still think bet on the Dogs, because when the back's against the wall, you don't want to really battle against the Bulldogs.
Absolutely. And this team especially, I mean, not to harp on it too much more before we get into tennis and golf, but the fact that this group is winning these games, these big, big games as freshmen and sophomores,
it's just very cool.
Oh, wait till they're juniors.
The sky's the limit, dude.
The sky is
the limit.
Yes, it's going to be fun. We'll move to golf here as both teams are kind of in a unique spot. They're going to be off until this next week. So you'll see women's and men's golf starting regional action coming up. So good results in GLIAC. Obviously the men's taking home the chip, women's semifinalist. And I think you're looking at these groups, and it's the depth is always there. I think Coach Stark doesn't get enough credit for the absolute great job that he's done really building the depth of these teams. I mean, you look on the men's side, Caleb Bond, you're seeing Zach Corner, who's on the show here just recently, Nathan Kranick as well. I think you look at where those guys are at, and it's just always consistency. And no matter who's in the 4, 5, 3 spot and that given weekend, stepping up as well. Women's side, same thing. I mean, you're looking at Cameron Shannon, who's been very consistent up front. Dana Sosowski has been really good as well. As you've seen Abby Gravel be in there. Hope Thiebaud has been in there. And you're seeing a lot of the depth pieces that are playing the best golf of the year here at the end of the year. And that's exactly what you're asking for from this group. And they always step up to the big occasion. And we hope to see that in the NCAA East for the women's and Midwest for the men's in the regional.
Yeah, and the best part about it is, I mean, when we talked to Zach and we talked to Cam, they really mentioned how just the mentality of going into those tournaments is just like if you're the 5 spot or the 4 spot, it's not to you know, negate your talent or anything, but it's just like, hey, I'm gonna do my part to get it. And if you have to, you know, just grind it out and just make sure that one shot is not going to derail anything. It's just making one back, because everything could just come down to one shot. You know what I'm saying? So that's the best part about this team, is that their mentality when it comes to winning big matches, and it doesn't matter if it's got to be by a big margin or if it's by a small margin, they're not going to let the small stuff get to them. They're going to look at the bigger picture. And especially when you get this late in the season where a lot of stuff is going going on in your mind when you can just focus on that solely. That's going to be a recipe for success. Oh my word.
Yes.
And for both these teams to be this late in the season, it's just a testament to how well Coach Stark has been able to coach them, as well as just how good of players they are to get to this point.
Absolutely. This is an exciting group, and especially on the national stage, I think it's going to be fun to see how they pan out here at the NCAA 2 level, and we hope to see them in nationals. It'll be super cool.
Me as well.
They can get to the trip there. Final one that we got here on deck, we have men's and women's tennis. Obviously, the men's group winning the GLIAC championship. Absolutely phenomenal season from them. And I think especially men's and women's side, obviously we mentioned Coach Stark with the depth group. Coach Doran, I think, deserves as much credit as well for really establishing this group, because I think especially when you look at the lineups, it's really a very, very similar type of vibe when you're looking at tennis as you are with golf. The depth is always there. I mean, for the men's team, losing a top player like Eric Kovacs early on in the year to an injury, looking like, oh man, now are we fighting for second? Like we're going to do our... No, it never bothered them. And that's what great teams are made of. It's that mentality. Next guy up. We're going to move forward. And you saw Asunge step up. You saw Yannick step up. Ben Lordy as well. Alessandro, who was on the show a little while ago. You saw all those guys really stepping up. Women's side, same thing. Obviously, Morgan Waller went down last year. Now she's came back this year, back to her normal self, really playing some top tier tennis. You saw Amelia do the same thing, Parker Nolan do the same thing, and I think that just really shows to go the resiliency of these teams. And I think especially over there in the Racket Center, we don't get to see them as much, but they're putting in just as much work, winning chips, and I think that just needs to be more noticed, especially for what this group has done this year. And now they're going to the regional as well, so we're looking forward to seeing how their season is going to go here for the men's side, and they actually have a chance of hosting, so we're going to keep you up to date on that for the regional.
That's cool.
That won't come out here for just a little bit, but there is a chance that they could host regional, and I think that's going to be really fun to see.
Yeah, that would be actually really awesome if that does go down. But yeah, that's the coolest part about it is both of these teams just have the depth, and they have the best part about, and I mean, it's going to be the same thing that I said about golf, but it's just so cool to see how the athletic programs in this university and especially this athletic programs, is that you have people who are willing to take the second and the third string or the second and third spots and not let it, kind of affect where they are mentally when they come into the game. And that's the difference between championship programs and programs that are just good on paper. And you might see them, go a little bit far, but when you're consistently this good as, Ferris State men's, women's tennis is, it's because you have players who are willing to, take a back seat and do their part without getting the recognition for it. And the best part about it is we get the recognition now because men's being GLIAC champions, women's having a really solid go of it this season, and being able to turn it up near the end of the season is just one of the best things about it. So going into now, it's really just a focus for the regionals, but for these teams to just do as well as they did, and like you said, to face the injuries that they did early on in the year and the uncertainties, now to be able to just say like, hey, we did the best we could, and what we did, our best was one of the best in the country. I mean, it's just what you just love to see it.
Woo! There it is.
My mind is going a million miles an hour, so trying to piece that into words is always a tough.
No, you're good. I mean, hey, we just covered 7 sports in the matter of 22 minutes.
Dang, dude. So we're gonna close. We gotta close this thing out pretty soon.
Yeah, unfortunately we do. But we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Now, we have heard you guys are wondering what's going on in the summer. The show will go on. Now, we are looking at collaborations right now. So be on the lookout potentially for a collab summer series. That's kind of been our MO, Joe, and it seems to be a very enjoyable time, and I think we should run it back again. Hey, off the ice, get those guys over, bro.
I would like that. Do you remember some of our award-winning listeners, our longtime listeners, I remember the shot callers back in the day?
Yes. We love doing that. Maybe we bring that back? I mean, there's all sorts of possibilities here.
Dude, if you are a very long-time listener, you might remember our Last Dance rewatch documentary.
Oh, man, that was a good time, too.
That was middle of COVID, too.
We got options here.
I was on my basement in the dungeon.
Yes, I was also in my basement.
On Zoom.
Back in COVID. How long ago was that?
Too long.
Too long, that's true.
Took years off our life.
But follow us at @behind_Bulldogs. You'll be up to date on everything coming up this summer, as well as all of our great collaboration episodes as we head into a really fun-filled summer. We'll still be covering Ferris State sports in depth with our friends, and it's going to be a really fun time to do that. But that's going to be a wrap for the spring semester here on Behind the Bulldogs. Big thanks to all of you. Be sure to subscribe wherever you find this show, or if you listen live on WBRN.com. And we'll see you back here next week.
For real. Take care, everybody.